Thursday, 11th of October. The course was west-southwest, and there was more sea than there had been during the whole of the voyage. They saw sandpipers and a green reed near the ship. Those of the caravel Pinta saw a cane and a pole, and they took up another small pole which appeared to have been worked with iron, also another bit of cane, a land plant, and a small board. The crew of the caravel Nina also saw signs of land, and a small branch covered with berries. Everyone breathed afresh and rejoiced at these signs. The run until sunset was 26 leagues. After sunset, the admiral returned to his original west course, and then went along at the rate of 12 miles an hour. Up to 2 hours after midnight, they had gone 90 miles, equal to 22.5 leagues. As the caravel Pinta was a better sailor and went ahead of the admiral, she found the land and made the signals ordered by the admiral. The land was first seen by a sailor named Rodrigo de Triana, but the admiral, at 10 in the previous night, being on the castle of the poop, saw a light, though it was so uncertain that he could not affirm it was land. He called Pero Gutierrez, a gentleman of the king's bedchamber, and said that there seemed to be a light, and that he should look at it. So he did so, and saw it. The admiral said the same to Rodrigo Sanchez of Segovia, whom the king and queen had sent with the fleet as inspector. But he could see nothing, because he was not in a place whence anything could be seen. After the admiral had spoken, he saw the light once or twice, and it was like a wax candle rising and falling. It seemed to few to be an indication of land, but the admiral made certain that land was close. When they said the salvo, which all the sailors were accustomed to sing in their way, the admiral asked and admonished the men to keep a good lookout on the forecastle, and to watch well for land. And to him who should first cry out that he saw land, he would give a silk doublet, besides the other rewards promised by the sovereigns, which were 10,000 maravedis, to him who should first see it. At 2 hours after midnight, the land was sighted at a distance of 2 leagues. They shortened sail and lay by under the mainsail without the bonnets. The vessels were hove to, waiting for daylight, and on Friday they arrived at a small island of the Lucayos called in the language of the Indians Guanahani. Presently they saw naked people. The admiral went on shore in the armed boat, and Martin Alonso Pinzon and Vicente Yanez, his brother, who was the captain of the Nina. The admiral took the royal standard, and the captains went with 2 banners of the green cross, which the admiral took in all the ships as a sign, with an F and a Y and a crown over each letter, one on one side of the cross and the other on the other. Having landed, they saw trees very green, and much water, and fruits of diverse kinds. The admiral called to the 2 other captains, and to the others who leaped on shore, and to Rodrigo Escobedo, secretary of the whole fleet, and to Rodrigo Sanchez of Segovia, and said that they should bear faithful testimony that he, in presence of all, had taken, as he took now, possession of the said island for the king and for the queen, his lords making the declarations that are required, as is more largely set forth in the testimonies which were then made in writing. Presently, many inhabitants of the island assembled. What follows is in the actual words of the admiral in his book of the first navigation and discovery of the Indies. He says, that we might form great friendship, for I knew that they were a people who could be more easily freed and converted to our holy faith by love than by force, gave to some of them red caps and glass beads to put round their necks, and many other things of little value, which gave them great pleasure, and made them so much our friends that it was a marvel to see. They afterwards came to the ship's boats, where we were, swimming and bringing us parrots, cotton threads in skeins, darts, and many other things, and we exchanged them for other things that we gave them, such as glass beads and small bells. In fine, they took all, and gave what they had with good will. It appeared to me to be a race of people very poor in everything. They go as naked as when their mothers bore them, and so do the women, although I did not see more than one young girl. All I saw were youths, none more than 30 years of age. They are very well made, with very handsome bodies, and very good countenances. Their hair is short and coarse, almost like the hair of a horse's tail. They wear the hairs brought down to the eyebrows, except a few locks behind, which they wear long and never cut. They paint themselves black, and they are the color of the Canarians, neither black nor white. Some paint themselves white, others red, and others of what color they find. Some paint their faces, others the whole body, some only round the eyes, others only on the nose. They neither carry nor know anything of arms, for I showed them swords, and they took them by the blade and cut themselves through ignorance. They have no iron, their darts being wands without iron, some of them having a fish's tooth at the end, and others being pointed in various ways. They are all of fair stature and size, with good faces and well made. I saw some with marks of wounds on their body, and I made signs to ask what it was, and they gave me to understand that people from other adjacent islands came with the intention of seizing them, and that they defended themselves. I believed, and still believe, that they come here from the mainland to take them prisoners. They should be good servants and intelligent, for I observed that they quickly took in what was said to them, and I believed that they would easily be made Christians, as it appeared to me that they had no religion. I, our Lord being pleased, will take hence at this time of my departure 6 natives for your highness, that they may learn to speak. I saw no beast of any kind except parrots on the island. The above is in the words of the admiral. Saturday, 13th of October. As soon as dawn broke, many of these people came to the beach, all youths, as I have said, and all of good stature, a very handsome people. Their hair is not curly, but loose and coarse like horsehair. In all, the forehead is broad, more so than in any other people I have hitherto seen. Their eyes are very beautiful and not small, and themselves far from black, but the color of Canarians. Nor should anything else be expected, as this island is in a line east and west from the island of Hierro in the Canaries. Their legs are very straight, all in one line, and no belly, but very well formed. They came to the ship in small canoes, made out of the trunk of a tree like a long boat, and all of one piece, and wonderfully worked considering the country. They are large, some of them holding 40 to 45 men, others smaller, and some only large enough to hold 1 man. They are propelled with a paddle, like a baker's shovel, and go at a marvelous rate. If the canoe capsizes, they all promptly begin to swim and to bail it out with calabashes that they take with them. They brought skeins of cotton thread, parrots, darts, and other small things, which it would be tedious to recount, and they give all in exchange for anything that may be given to them. I was attentive and took trouble to ascertain if there was gold. I saw that some of them had a small piece fastened in a hole that they have in the nose, and by signs I was able to make out that to the south, or going from the island to the south, there was a king who had great cups full, and who possessed a great quantity. I tried to get them to go there, but afterwards I saw that they had no inclination. I resolved to wait until tomorrow in the afternoon, and then to depart, shaping a course to the southwest, for, according to what many of them told me, there was land to the south, to the southwest and northwest, and that the natives from the northwest often came to attack them and went on to the southwest in search of gold and precious stones. The island is rather large and very flat, with bright green trees, much water, and a very large lake in the center without any mountain, and the whole land so green that it is a pleasure to look on. The people are very docile, and for the longing to possess our things, and not having anything to give them in return, they take what they can get and presently swim away. Still, they give away all they have got for whatever may be given to them, down to broken bits of crockery and glass. I saw one give 16 skeins of cotton for 3 cotas of Portugal, equal to 1 blanca of Spain, the skeins being as much as an arroba of cotton thread. I shall keep it, and shall allow no one to take it, preserving it all for your highness, for it may be obtained in abundance. It has grown in this island, though the short time did not admit of my ascertaining this for a certainty. Here also is found the gold they wear fastened to their noses. But in order not to lose time, I intend to go and see if I can find the island of Cipango. Now as it is night, all of the natives have gone on shore with their canoes. Sunday, 14th of October. At dawn, I ordered the ship's boat and the boats of the caravels to be got ready, and I went along the coast of the island to the north-northeast to see the other side, which was on the other side to the east, and also to see the villages. Presently I saw 2 or 3, and the people all came to the shore, calling out and giving thanks to God. Some of them brought us water. Others came with food, and when they saw that I did not want to land, they got into the sea and came swimming to us. We understood that they asked us if we had come from heaven. One old man came into the boat, and others cried out in loud voices to all the men and women to come and see the men who had come from heaven, and to bring them to eat and drink. Many came, including women, each bringing something, giving thanks to God, throwing themselves on the ground and shouting to us to come on shore. But I was afraid to land, seeing an extensive reef of rocks, which surrounded the island with deep water between it and the shore, forming a port large enough for as many ships as there are in Christendom, but with a very narrow entrance. It is true that within this reef there are some sunken rocks, but the sea has no more motion than the water in as well. In order to see all this, I went this morning, and I might be able to give a full account to your highnesses, and also where a fortress might be established. I saw a piece of land which appeared like an island, although it is not one, and on it there were 6 houses. It might be converted into an island in 2 days, though I do not see that it would be necessary, for these people are very simple as regards to the use of arms, as your highnesses will see from the 7 that I caused to be taken, to bring home and to learn our languages and return, unless your highnesses should order them all to be brought to Castile, or to be kept as captives on the same island. For with 50 men they can all be subjugated and made to do what is required of them. Close to the above peninsula there are gardens of the most beautiful trees I ever saw, and with leaves as green as those of Castile in the month of April and May, and much water. I examined all that port, and afterwards I returned to the ship and made sail. I saw so many islands that I hardly knew how to determine which I should go to first. Those natives I had with me said, by signs, that there were so many that they could not be numbered, and they gave me the names of more than 100. At last I looked out for the largest, and resolved to shape a course for it, and so I did. It will be distant 5 leagues from this of San Salvador, and the others some more, some less. All are very flat, and all are inhabited. The natives make war on each other, although these are very simple-minded and handsomely formed people. Monday, 15th of October. I had laid by during the night, with the fear of reaching the land to anchor before daylight, not knowing whether the coast was clear of rocks, and at dawn I made sail. As the island was more than 5 leagues distant and nearer 7, and the tide checked my way, it was noon when we arrived at the said island. I found that side facing toward the island of San Salvador trended north and south with a length of 5 leagues, and the other which I followed ran east and west for more than 10 leagues. As from this island I saw another larger one to the west. I clewed up the sails after having run all that day until night, otherwise I could not have reached the western cape. I gave the name of Santa Maria de la Concepcion to the island, and almost as the sun set I anchored near the said cape to ascertain if it contained gold. For the people I had taken from the island of San Salvador told me that here they wore very large rings of gold on their arms and legs. I really believed that all they said was nonsense, invented that they might escape. My desire was not to pass any island without taking possession, so that one having been taken, the same may be said of all. I anchored and remained until today, Tuesday, when I went to the shore with the boats armed and landed. The people, who were numerous, went naked, and were like those of the other island of San Salvador. They let us go over the island, and gave us what we required. As the wind changed to the southeast, I did not like to stay, and returned to the ship. A large canoe was alongside the Nina, and one of the men of the island of San Salvador, who was on board, jumped into the sea and got into the canoe. In the middle of the night before, another swam away behind the canoe, which fled, for there never was a boat that could have overtaken her, seeing that in speed they have a great advantage. So they reached the land and left the canoe. Some of my people went on shore in chase of them, but they all fled like fowls, and the canoe they had left was brought alongside the caravel Nina, whither, from another direction, another small canoe came with a man who wished to barter with the skeins of cotton. Some sailors jumped into the sea because he would not come on board the caravel, and seized him. I was on the poop of my ship and saw everything. So I sent for the man, gave him a red cap, some small beads of green glass, which I put on his arms, and small bells, which I put in his ears, and ordered his canoe, which was also on board, to be returned to him. I sent him on shore, and presently made sail to go to the other large island, which was in sight to the westward. I also ordered the other large canoe, which the caravel Nina was towing astern, to be cast adrift, and I soon saw that it reached the land at the same time as the man to whom I had given the above things. I had not wished to take the skein of cotton that he offered me. All the others came round him and seemed astonished, for it appeared clear to them that we were good people. The other man who had fled might do us some harm, because we had carried him off, and for that reason I ordered this man to be set free, and gave him the above things, that he might think well of us. Otherwise, when your highnesses again send an expedition, they may not be friendly. All the presents I gave were not worth 4 maravedis. At 10 we departed with the wind southwest, and made for the south, to reach that other island, which is very large, and respecting which all the men that I bring from San Salvador make signs that there is much gold, and that they wear it as bracelets on the arms, on the legs, in the ears and nose, and round the neck. The distance of this island from that of Santa Maria is 9 leagues on a course east to west. All this part of the island trends northwest and southeast, and it appeared that this coast must have a length of 28 leagues. It is very flat, without any mountain, like San Salvador and Santa Maria, all being beach without rocks, except that there are some sunken rocks near the land, whence it is necessary to keep a good lookout when it is desired to anchor, and not to come very near the land. But the water is always very clear, and the bottom is visible. At a distance of 2 shots of a lombard, there is, off all these islands, such a depth that the bottom cannot be reached. These islands are very green and fertile, the climate very mild. They may contain many things of which I have no knowledge, for I do not wish to stop in discovering and visiting many islands to find gold. These people make signs that it is worn on the arms and legs, and it must be gold, for they point to some pieces that I have. I cannot err, with the help of our Lord, in finding out where this gold has its origin, being in the middle of the channel between these two islands, that is to say, that of Santa Maria, and this large one, to which I give the name of Fernandina. I came upon a man alone in a canoe going from Santa Maria to Fernandina. He had a little of their bread, about the size of a fish, a calabash of water, a piece of brown earth powdered and then kneaded, and some dried leaves, which must be a thing highly valued for them, for they bartered with it at San Salvador. He also had with him a native basket with a string of glass beads, and two blancas, by which I knew that he had come from the island of San Salvador, and had been to Santa Maria, and thence to Fernandina. He came alongside the ship, and I made him come on board as he desired, also getting the canoe inboard and taking care of all of his property. I ordered him to be given to eat bread and treacle, and also to drink, and so I shall take him on to Fernandina, where I shall return everything to him, in order that he may give a good account of us, that, our Lord pleasing, when your highnesses shall send here, those who come may receive honor, and that the natives may give them all they require. Tuesday, 16th of October. I sailed from the island of Santa Maria de la Concepcion at around noon to go to Fernandina Island, which appeared very large to the westward, and I navigated all that day with light winds. I could not arrive in time to be able to see the bottom, so as to drop the anchor on a clear place, for it is necessary to be very careful not to lose the anchors. So I stood off and on all that night until day, when I came to an inhabited place where I anchored, and whence the man had come that I found yesterday in the canoe in mid-channel. He had given such a good report of us that there was no want of canoes alongside the ship all that night, which brought us water and what they had to offer. I ordered each one to be given something, such as a few beads, 10 or 12 of those made of glass on a thread, some timbrels made of brass, such as are worth a maravedì in Spain, and some straps, all which they looked upon as most excellent. I ordered them to be given treacle to each when they came on board. At 3 o'clock I sent the ship's boat on shore for water, and the natives with good will showed my people where the water was, and they themselves brought us the full casks down to the boat, and did all they could to please us. This island is very large, and I have determined to sail round it, because so far as I can understand, there is a mine in or near it. The island is 8 leagues from Santa Maria, nearly east and west, and this point I had reached, as well as all the coast, trends north-northwest and south-southeast. I saw at least 20 leagues of it, and then it had not ended. Now as I am writing this, I made sail with the wind at the south, to sail round the island and to navigate until I find Semouth, which is the island or city where there is gold, as all the natives say who are on board, and as those of San Salvador and Santa Maria told us. These people resemble those of the said islands, with the same language and customs, except that these appear to me a rather more domestic and tractable people, yet also more subtle. For I observed that those who brought cotton and other trifles to the ship knew better than the others how to make a bargain. In this island I saw cotton cloths, made like mantles. The people were better disposed, and the women wore in front of their bodies a small piece of cotton, which scarcely covered them. It is a very green island, level, and very fertile, and I have no doubt that they will sow and gather corn all the year round, as well as other things. I saw many trees very unlike those of our country. Many of them have their branches growing in different ways and all from one trunk, and one twig is one form, and another in a different shape, and so unlike that it is the greatest wonder in the world to see the great diversity. Thus one branch has leaves like those of a cane, and others like those of a mastic tree. And on a single tree there are 5 or 6 different kinds. Nor are these grafted, for it may be said that grafting is unknown, the trees being wild and untended by these people. They do not know any religion, and I believe that they could easily be converted to Christianity, for they are very intelligent. Here the fish are so unlike ours that it is wonderful. Some are the shape of dories, and of the finest colors in the world, blue, yellow, red, and other tints, all painted in various ways, and the colors are so bright that there is not a man who would not be astonished, and would not take great delight in seeing them. There are also whales. I saw no beasts on the land of any kind, except parrots and lizards. A boy told me that he saw a large serpent. I saw neither sheep, nor goats, nor any other quadruped. It is true I have been here a short time, since noon, yet I could not have failed to see some if there had been any. I will write respecting the circuit of the island after I have been round it. Wednesday, 17th of October. At noon I departed from the village off which I was anchored, and where I took in water to sail round this island of Fernandina. The wind was southwest and south. My wish was to follow the coast of the island to the southeast, from where I was the whole coast trending north-northwest and south-southeast, because all the Indians I bring with me, and others, made signs to this southern quarter as the direction of the island that they call Samwet, where the gold is. Martin Alonso Pinzon, captain of the caravel Pinta, on board of which I had 3 of the Indians, came to me and said that one of them had given him to understand very positively that the island might be sailed round much quicker by shaping a north-northwest course. I saw that the wind would not help me take the course I desired, and that it was fair for the other, so I made sail to the north-northwest. When I was 2 leagues from the cape of the island, I discovered a very wonderful harbor. It has one mouth, or rather it may be said to have 2, for there is an islet in the middle. Both are very narrow, and within it is wide enough for 100 ships. If there was a depth and a clean bottom, and the entrance was deep enough, it seemed desirable to explore it and take surroundings, so I anchored outside and went in with all the ship's boats when we saw there was insufficient depth. As I thought, when I first saw it, that it was the mouth of some river, I ordered the water casks to be brought. On shore, I found 8 or 10 men who presently came to us and showed us the village, whither I sent the people for water, with some arms, and others with the casks. And it was some little distance. I waited 2 hours for them. During that time I walked among the trees, which was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen, beholding as much verdure as in the month of May in Andalusia. The trees are as unlike ours as night from day, as are the fruits, the herbs, the stones, and everything. It is true that some of the trees bore some resemblance to those in Castile, but most of them are very different, and some were so unlike that no one could compare them to anything in Castile. The people were all like those already mentioned, like them naked and the same size. They give what they possess in exchange for anything that may be given to them. I here saw some of the ship's boys bartering broken bits of glass and crockery for darts. The men who went for water told me that they had been in the houses of the natives, and that they were very plain and clean inside. Their beds and bags for holding things were like nets of cotton. The houses are like booths, and very high with good chimneys, but among many villages that I saw, there was none that consisted of more than 12 to 15 houses. Here they found that the married women wore clouts of cotton, but not the young girls, except a few who were over 18 years of age. They had dogs, mastiffs, and hounds, and here they found a man who had a piece of gold in his nose, the size of a half of a castellano, on which they saw letters. I quarreled with these people because they would not exchange or give what was required, as I wished to see what and whose this money was, and they replied that they were not accustomed to barter. After the water was taken, I returned to the ship, made sail, and shaped a course northwest until I had discovered all the part of the coast of the island which trends cast to west. Then all the Indians turned round and said that this island was smaller than Somewhat, and that it would be well to return back so as to reach it sooner. The wind presently went down, and then sprang up from west-northwest, which was contrary for us to continue on the previous course, so I turned back and navigated all that night to east-southeast, sometimes to east and sometimes to southeast. This course was steered to keep me clear of the land, for there were very heavy clouds and thick weather, which did not admit of my approaching the land to anchor. On that night it rained very heavily from midnight until nearly dawn, and even afterwards the cloud threatened rain. We found ourselves at the southwest end of the island, where I hoped to anchor until it cleared up, so as to see the other island, whither I have to go. On all these days since I arrived in these Indies, it has rained more or less. Your Highnesses may believe that this land is the best and most fertile, and with a good climate, level, and as good as there is in the world. Thursday, 18th of October. After it had cleared up, I went before the wind, approaching the island as near as I could, and anchored when it was no longer light enough to keep under sail. But I did not go on shore, and made sail at dawn. Friday, 19th of October. I weighed the anchors at daylight, sending the Caravel Pinta on an east-southeast course, the Caravel Nina south-southeast, while I shaped a southeast course, giving orders that these courses were to be steered until noon, and that then two caravels should alter course so as to join company with me. Before we had sailed for 3 hours, we saw an island to the east, for which we steered, and all 3 vessels arrived at the north point before noon. Here there was an islet, and a reef of rocks to seaward of it. Besides one between the islet and the large island, the men of San Salvador, whom I bring with me, called it Samuete, and I gave it the name of Isabella. The wind was north, and the said islet bore from the island of Fernandina, whence I had taken my departure, east and west. Afterwards we ran along the coast of the island westward from the islet, and found its length to be 12 leagues as far as a cape which I named Cabo Hermoso at the west end. The island is beautiful, and the coast very deep, without sunken rocks off it. Outside the shore is rocky, but further in there is a sandy beach, and here I anchored on that Friday until morning. This coast and the part of the island I saw is almost flat, and the island is very beautiful, for if the other islands are lovely, this is more so. It has many green trees, which are very large. The land is higher than in the other islands, and in it there are some hills, which cannot be called mountains, and it appears that there is much water inland. From this point to the northeast, the coast makes a great angle, and there are many thick and extensive groves. I wanted to go and anchor there, so as to go on shore and see so much beauty, but the water was shallow, and we could only anchor at a distance from land. The wind also was fair for going to this cape, where I am now anchored, to which I gave the name Cabo Hermoso, because it is so. Thus, it was that I do not anchor in that angle, but as I saw this cape so green and so beautiful, like all the other lands of these islands, I scarcely knew which to visit first, for I can never tire my eyes in looking at such lovely vegetation, so different from ours. I believe that there are many herbs and many trees that are worth much in Europe for dyes and for medicine, but I do not know, and this causes me great sorrow. Arriving at this cape, I found the smell of the trees and flowers so delicious that it seemed the pleasantest thing in the world. Tomorrow, before I leave this place, I shall go on shore to see what there is at this cape. There are no people, but there are villages in the interior, where the Indians I bring with me say there is a king who has so much gold. Tomorrow I intend to go so far inland as to find this village, and see and have some speech with this king, who, according to the signs they make, rules over all the neighboring islands, goes about clothed, and wears much gold on his person. I do not give much faith to what they say as well, because I do not understand them, because they are so poor in gold that even a little that this king may have would appear much to them. This cape, to which I have given the name of Cabo Hermoso, is, I believe, on an island separated from Salmeto, and there is another small islet between them. I did not try to examine them in detail, because it could not be done in 50 years, for my desire is to see and discover as much as I can before returning to your highnesses, our Lord willing, in April. It is true that in the event of finding places where there is gold or spices in quantity, I should stop until I had collected as much as I could. I, therefore, proceeded in the hope of coming across such places. Saturday, 20th of October. Today, at sunrise, I weighed the anchors from where I was with the ship, and anchored off the southwest point of the island of Salmeto, to which I gave the name of Cabo de la Laguna, and to the island Isabella. My intention was to navigate to the northeast and east from the southeast and south, where, I understood from the Indians I brought with me, was the village of the king. I found the sea so shallow that I could not enter nor navigate in it, and I saw that to follow a route by the southeast would be a great round. So I determined to return by the route that I had taken from the north-northeast to the western part, and to sail round this island too. I had so little wind that I never could sail along the coast, except during the night, as it was dangerous to anchor off these islands except in the day, when one can see where to let go the anchor, for the bottom is all in patches, some clear and some rocky. I lay to all this Sunday night. The caravels anchored because they found themselves near the shore, and they thought that, owing to the signals that they were in the habit of making, I would come to anchor, but I did not wish to do so. Sunday, 21st of October. At 10 o'clock I arrived here, off this islet, and anchored as well as the caravels. After breakfast I went on shore, and found only one house, in which there was no one, and I supposed they had fled from fear, because all their property was left in the house. I would not allow anything to be touched, but set out with the captains and people to explore the island. If the others already seen are very beautiful, green and fertile, this is much more so, with large trees and very green. Here there are large lagoons with wonderful vegetation on their banks. Throughout the island all is green, and the herbage like April in Andalusia. The songs of the birds were so pleasant that it seemed as if a man could never wish to leave the place. The flocks of parrots concealed the sun, and the birds were so numerous, and of so many different kinds, that it was wonderful. There are trees of 1,000 sorts, and all have their several fruits, and I feel the most unhappy man in the world not to know them, for I am well assured that they are all valuable. I bring home specimens of them, and also of the land. Thus walking along round one of the lakes I saw a serpent, which we killed, and I bring home the skin for your highnesses. As soon as it saw us, it went into the lagoon, and we followed, as the water was not very deep, until we killed it with lances. It was 7 palmos long, and I believe that there are many like it in these lagoons. Here I have come upon some aloes, and I have determined to take 10 quintals on board tomorrow, for they tell me that they are worth a good deal. Also, while in search of good water, we came to a village about half a league from our anchorage. The people, as soon as they heard us, all fled and left their houses, hiding their property in the wood. I would not allow a thing to be touched, even the value of a pin. Presently, some men among them came to us, and one came quite close. I gave him some bells and glass beads, which made him very content and happy. That our friendship might be further increased, I resolved to ask him for something. I requested him to get some water. After I had gone on board, the natives came back to the beach with calabashes full of water, and they delighted much in giving it to us. I ordered another string of glass beads to be presented to them, and they said they would come again tomorrow. I wished to fill up all the ships with water at this place, and if there should be time, I intended to search the island until I had speech with the king, and seen whether he had the gold of which I had heard. I shall then shape a course for another much larger island, which I believe to be Cipango, judging from the signs made by the Indians I bring with me. They call it Cuba, and they say that there are ships and many skillful sailors there. Beyond this island there is another called Bocio, which they also say is very large, and others we shall see as we pass lying between. According as I obtain tidings of gold or spices, I shall settle what should be done. I am still resolved to go to the mainland and the city of Gisai, and to deliver the letters of your highnesses to the Grand Khan, requesting a reply and returning with it. Monday, 22nd of October. All last night and today I was here, waiting to see if the king or other person would bring gold or anything of value. Many of these people came, like those of the other islands, equally naked and equally painted, some white, some red, some black, and others in many ways. They brought darts and skeins of cotton to barter, which they exchanged with the sailors for bits of glass, broken crockery, and pieces of earthenware. Some of them had pieces of gold fastened to their noses, which they willingly gave for a hawk's bell and glass beads, for there was so little that it counts for nothing. It is true that they looked upon any little thing that I gave them as a wonder, and they held our arrival to be a great marvel, believing that we came from heaven. We got water for the ships from a lagoon which is near the Cabo del Isleo, Cape of the Islet, as we named it. In the said lagoon, Martin Alonso Pinzon, captain of the Pinta, killed another serpent, 7 palmos long, like the one we got yesterday. I made them gather here as much of the aloe as they could find. Tuesday, 23rd of October. I desired to set out today for the island of Cuba, which I think must be Cipango, according to the signs these people make, indicative of its size and riches, and I did not delay any more here, nor round this island, to the residence of the king or lord, and have speech with him as I had intended. This would cause me much delay, as I see that there is no gold mine here. To sail round would need several winds, for it does not blow here as men may wish. It is better to go where there is great entertainment. So I say that it is not reasonable to wait, but rather to continue the voyage and inspect much land, until some very profitable country is reached, my belief being that it will be riches and spices. That I have no personal knowledge of these products causes me the greatest sorrow in the world, for I see 1,000 kinds of trees, each one with its own special fruit, all green now, as in Spain during the months of May and June, as well as 1,000 kinds of herbs with their flowers. Yet I know none of them except this aloe, of which I ordered a quantity to be brought on board to bring to your highnesses. I have not made sail for Cuba because there is no wind, but a dead calm with much rain. It rained a great deal yesterday without causing any cold. On the contrary, the days are hot, and the nights are cool, like May in Andalusia. Wednesday, 24th of October. At midnight I weighed the anchors and left the anchorage at Cabo del Isleo, in the island of Isabela. From the northern side, where I was, I intended to go to the island of Cuba, where I heard of the people who were very great and had gold, spices, merchandise, and large ships. They showed me that the course thither would be west-southwest, and so I hold, for I believe that it is so, as all the Indians of these islands, as well as those I brought with me in the ships, told me by signs. I cannot understand their language, but I believe that it is of the island of Cipango that they recount these wonders. On the spheres I saw, and on the delineations of the map of the world, Cipango is in this region. So I shaped a course west-southwest until daylight, but at dawn it fell calm and began to rain, and went on nearly all night. I remained thus, with little wind, until the afternoon, when it began to blow fresh. I set all the sails in the ship, the mainsail, with 2 bonnets, the foresail, spritsail, mizzen, main, topsail, and the boat's sail on the poop. So I proceeded until nightfall, when the Cabo Verde of the island of Fernandina, which is at the southwest end, bore northwest, distant 7 leagues. As it was now blowing hard, and I did not know how far it was to the island of Cuba, I resolved not to go in search of it during the night, all these islands being very steep too, with no bottom round them, for a distance of 2 shots of a lombard. The bottom is all in patches, 1 bit of sand and another of rock, and for this reason it is not safe to anchor without inspection with the eye. So I determined to take in all the sails except the foresail, and to go under that reduced canvas. Soon the wind increased, while the route was doubtful, and there was very thick weather with rain. I ordered the foresail to be furled, and we did not make 2 leagues during that night. Thursday, 25th of October. I steered west-southwest from after sunset until 9 o'clock, making 5 leagues. Afterwards, I altered course to the west and went 8 miles an hour until 1 in the afternoon, and from that time until 3 made good 44 miles. Then land was sighted, consisting of 7 or 8 islands, the group running north and south, distant from us 5 leagues. Friday, 26th of October. The ship was on the south side of the islands, which were all low, distant 5 or 6 leagues. I anchored there. The Indians on board said that thence to Cuba was a voyage in their canoes of a day and a half, these being small dugouts with a sail. Such are their canoes. I departed thence for Cuba, for by the signs the Indians made it of its greatness and of its gold and pearls, I thought it must be Cipango. Saturday, 27th of October. I weighed from these islands at sunrise and gave them the name of Las Islas de Arena, owing to the little depth the sea had for a distance of 6 leagues to the southward of them. We went 8 miles an hour on a south-southwest course until 1 o'clock, having made 40 miles. Until night we had run 28 miles on the same course, and before dark the land was sighted. At night there was much rain. The vessels on Saturday until sunset made 17 leagues on a south-southwest course. Sunday, 28th of October. I went thence in search of the island of Cuba on a south-southwest coast, making for the nearest point of it, and entered a very beautiful river without danger of sunken rocks or other impediments. All the coast was clear of dangers up to the shore. The mouth of the river was 12 brazos long, and it is wide enough for a vessel to beat in. I anchored about a lombard shot inside. The admiral says that he never beheld such a beautiful place, with trees bordering the river, handsome, green, and different from ours, having fruits and flowers, each one according to its nature. There are many birds, which sing very sweetly. There are a great number of palm trees of a different kind, from those in Guinea and from ours, of a middling height. the trunks without that covering, and the leaves very large, with which they thatched their houses. The country is very level. The admiral jumped into his boat and went on shore. He came to two houses, which he believed belonged to fishermen who fled from fear. In one of them he found a kind of dog that never barks, and in both there were nets of palm fiber and cordage, as well as horn fish hooks, bone harpoons, and other apparatus for fishing, and several hearths. He believed that many people lived together in one house. He gave orders that nothing in the houses should be touched, and so it was done. The herbage was as thick as in Andalusia during April and May. He found much purslane and wild amaranth. He returned to the boat and went up the river for some distance. And he says it was great pleasure to see the bright verdure and the birds which he could not leave to go back. He says that the island is the most beautiful that eyes have seen, full of good harbors and deep rivers, and the sea appeared as if it never rose. For the herbage on the beach nearly reached the waves, which does not happen where the sea is rough. Up to that time they had not experienced a rough sea among all those islands. He says that the island is full of very beautiful mountains, although they are not very extensive as regards length, but high, and all the country is high like Sicily. It is abundantly supplied with water, as they gathered from the Indians they had taken with them from the island of Guanahani. These said by signs that there are 10 great rivers, and that they cannot go round the island in 20 days. When they came near land with ships, 2 canoes came out, and when they saw the sailors get into a boat and row about to find the depth of the river where they could anchor, the canoes fled. The Indians say that in this island there are gold mines and pearls, and the admiral saw a likely place for them, and mussel shells, which are a sign of them. He understood that large ships of the Gran Khan came here, and that from here to the mainland was a voyage of 10 days. The admiral called this river and harbor San Salvador. Monday, 29th of October. The admiral weighed anchor from this port and sailed to the westward to go to the city, where, as it seemed, the Indians said that there was a king. They doubled a point 6 leagues to the northwest, and then another point, then east 10 leagues. After another league, he saw a river with no very large entrance, to which he gave the names of Rio de la Luna. He went on until the hour of the vespers. He saw another river, much larger than the others, as the Indians told him by signs, and near he saw goodly villages of houses. He called the river Rio de Mares. He sent 2 boats on shore to a village to communicate, and one of the Indians he had brought with him, for now they understood a little and showed themselves content with Christians. All the men, women, and children fled, abandoning their houses with all they contained. The admiral gave orders that nothing should be touched. The houses were better than those he had seen before, and he believed that the houses would improve as he approached the mainland. They were made like booths, very large, looking like tents in a camp without regular streets, but one here and another there. Within they were clean and well swept, with the furniture well made. All are of palm branches, beautifully constructed. They found many images in the shape of women and many heads like masks, very well carved. It was not known whether these were used as ornaments or to be worshipped. They had dogs which never bark, and wild birds tamed in their houses. There was a wonderful supply of nets and other fishing implements, but nothing was touched. He believed that all the people on the coast were fishermen, who took the fish inland, for this island is very large, and so beautiful that he is never tired of praising it. He says that he found trees and fruits of very marvelous taste, and adds that they must have cows or other cattle, for he saw skulls, which were like those of cows. The songs of the birds and the chirping of crickets throughout the night lulled everyone to rest, while the air was soft and healthy, and the nights neither hot nor cold. On the voyage through the other islands there was great heat, but here it is tempered like the month of May. He attributed the heat of the other islands to their flatness, and to the wind coming from the east, which is hot. The water of the rivers was salt at the mouth, and they did not know whence the natives got their drinking water, though they have sweet water in their houses. Ships are able to turn in this river, both entering and coming out, and there are very good leading marks. He says that all this sea appears to be constantly smooth, like the river at Seville, and the water suitable for the growth of pearls. He found large shells unlike those of Spain, remarking on the position of the river and port, to which he gave the name of San Salvador. He describes its mountains as lofty and beautiful, like the Peña de las Enamoradas, and one of them has another little hill on its summit, like a graceful mosque. The other river and port, in which he now was, had 2 round mountains to the southwest, and a fine low cape running out to the west-southwest. Tuesday, 30th of October. He left the Rio de Mares and steered northwest, seeing a cape covered with palm trees, to which he gave the name of Cabo de Palmas, after having made good 15 leagues. The Indians on board the caravel Pinta said that beyond that cape there was a river, and that from the river to Cuba it was 4 days' journey. The captain of the Pinta reported that he understood from that this Cuba was a city, and that the land was a great continent trending far to the north. The king of that country, he gathered, was at war with the Gran Khan, whom they called Kami, and his land or his city, Faba, with many other names. The admiral resolved to proceed to that river and to send a present with the letter of the sovereigns to the king of that land. For this service there was a sailor who had been to Guinea, and some of the Indians of Guanahani wished to go with him, and afterwards to return to their homes. The admiral calculated that he was 42 degrees to the north of the equinoctial line. He says that he must attempt to reach the Gran Khan, who he thought was here or at the city of Cathay, which belongs to him and is very grand, and he was informed before leaving Spain. All this land, he adds, is low and beautiful, and the sea deep. Wednesday, 31st of October. All Tuesday night he was beating to windward, and he saw a river, but could not enter it because the entrance was narrow. The Indians fancied that the ships could enter wherever their canoes could go. Navigating onwards, he came to a cape running out very far and surrounded by sunken rocks, and he saw a bay where small vessels might take shelter. He could not proceed because the wind had come round to the north, and all the coast runs northwest and southeast. Another cape further on ran out still more. For these reasons, and because the sky showed signs of a gale, he had to return to the Rio de Mares. Thursday, November the 1st. At sunrise, the admiral sent the boats on shore to the houses that were there, and they found that all the people had fled. After some time, a man made his appearance. The admiral ordered that he should be left to himself, and the sailors returned to the boats. After dinner, one of the Indians on board was sent on shore. He called out from a distance that there was nothing to fear, because the strangers were good people and would do no harm to anyone. Nor were they people of the Gran Khan, but they had given away their things in many islands where they had been. The Indian then swam on shore, and 2 of the natives took him by the arms and brought him to a house, where they heard what he had to say. When they were certain that no harm would be done to them, they were reassured, and presently more than 16 canoes came to the ships with cotton thread and other trifles. The admiral ordered that nothing should be taken from them, that they might understand that he sought for nothing but gold, which they called nukai. Thus they were to and fro between the ships and the shore all day, and they came to the Christians on shore with confidence. The admiral saw no gold whatsoever among them, but he says that he saw one of them with a piece of worked silver fastened to his nose. They said by signs that within 3 days many merchants from inland would come to buy the things brought by the Christians, and would give information respecting the king of that land. So far as could be understood from their signs, he resided at a distance of 4 days' journey. They had sent many messengers in all directions with the news of the arrival of the admiral. These people, says the admiral, are of the same appearance and have the same customs as those of the other islands, without any religion so far as I know, for up to this day I have never seen the Indians on board say any prayer, though they repeat the Salve and Ave Maria with their hands raised to heaven, and they make the signs of the cross. The language is also the same, and they are all friends, but I believe that all these islands are at war with the Grand Khan, whom they called Kabila, and his province Bafan. They all go naked like the others. This is what the admiral says. The river, he adds, is very deep, and the ships can enter the mouth going close to shore. The sweet water does not come within a league of the mouth. It is certain, says the admiral, that this is the mainland, and I am in front of Saito and Ginsai, 100 leagues, a little more or less, distant from one to the other. It is very clear that no one before has been so far as this by sea. Yesterday, with wind from the northwest, I found it cold.